Our homes, our livelihoods, it's all gone. Gone!
We paid a visit to an old monastery on Lotanya Island. Rather than a warm welcome, we were greeted by a man stricken with grief. Try as I might, my questioning was met only with lament.
It is a pleasure to see you all again. Though I am loath to admit we cannot offer much in the way of hospitality at the moment.
Historiath, a woman who had played a vital role in bringing down Angra Mainyu, bowed to us with solemn grace.
You chose an inopportune time to visit. A section of permasnow inconceivably thawed, resulting in horrific flooding. We have our hands full with the evacuation efforts.
That explained the flock of distraught individuals milling about. Historiath and her attendants from Milo's monastery had done a remarkable job preventing casualties. The dramatic climate shift is certainly to blame for the unexpected thaw. However, the root cause was surely tied to a deviation of the water element. But there were more important things to worry about. For now, I brushed it aside in favor of helping the islanders.
This news doesn't appear to faze you. Is there perhaps something I should know?
I explained how faith in the primeval gods was connected to the state of the elements. The overseer closed her eyes, as if weighing the options available to her.
Does this mean we'll have to fight Panagarmer?
That is ultimately not up to me. I would rather use force as a last resort, even though it seemed inevitable. Furikin's frenzied outburst could have been the exception, but perhaps that was just wishful thinking. These people were reaching their breaking points. To assault a god, a being meant to be revered, seemed counterproductive considering the state of morale.
Given that our esteemed primeval god governs sequestration, resealing it behind the doors of Tradam's sanctum may return some semblance of faith.
That could, in a manner of speaking, reset the island to its original state. A primeval god locked behind a door would elevate the divine being's mystique, thereby inspiring reverence amongst its worshippers. It was worth a try. Couldn't be any worse than allowing the climate shift to ravage the island.
O primeval god of Felfrost's dominion, by your grace, shut the gate of seclusion!
The sanctum doors shuddered and drew to a close. As they clicked shut, a wolf-like howl echoed from within the inner chambers. The evacuees raised their heads, soaking in the sonorous timbre with sighs of relief. To my surprise, the snowfall grew slightly heavier. I hadn't expected such a quick turnaround.
It seems Managarmer's divinity thrives when placed in seclusion.
The clouds over Lotanya grew thicker and banished the sun's rays from its domain. Soon, the sacred mountain was back in the loving embrace of ice and frost. If the brutal cold is what its tenants cried out for, then who was I to judge?
Whenever I need inspiration to formulate a harebrained scheme, I just plunk myself down in front of this empty litter box and the ideas start flowing.
Zothba chuckled as we stared out at the ruins of Valion. The crew hid in the shade of a monolithic rock formation to avoid melting in the mid-afternoon sun. Even so, the heat was palpable to my more mortal companions.
Now I know what a fried egg feels like.
This island, like the previous two we'd come from, showed signs of irregularity. Desertification was accelerating, possibly spurred by an erratic earth element. I sensed the same lingering dissonance here, yet failed again to identify it. How irritating.
While we're holed up here trying to beat the heat, let me tell you a tale from Dolly's history.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not so fast, Buster. What's this info gonna cost us?
Ha! Spoken like a true info broker. Oh, they grow up so fast. Anyway, we're pals now, aren't we? Not everything I do has an ulterior motive, you know.
I think that was the first time I'd seen Zothpa smile since our introductions. He went on to explain that this entire region was occupied by an immense structure known as Holy City Valian, otherwise known as the primal beast Excavalion, and it was home to many a Skydweller. They were protected by the primal's power of fortification, and some say even astrals walked among them. Excavalion blessed the desert, harsh as it was. Every day the islanders gathered on a hill beneath the stars to offer up their prayers. It was hard to imagine this now barren land once teemed with activity.
Those prayers must have been what fueled that emotion mumbo-jumbo Roland was going on about. Excavalion stored up quite a bit of goodwill back in the day.
That changed when Roland sealed away Excavalion during the war, causing the islanders to seek prosperity elsewhere. They uprooted their families and took their faith in Excavalion with them. The final nail in the coffin was hammered in by the Church of Avia 15 years ago, when the Dali catastrophe wiped out any remaining souls. Even if such a disaster hadn't transpired, faith in Excavalion had hit its peak nearly 500 years earlier. How would it be possible to replicate those heights once more? Let's see what we have to work with. For one, there was sand. Lots of sand. As far as the eye could see. It was going to take a monumental, maybe even asinine, idea to repopulate this desolate island.
Huh. What? You think I sit behind a big desk just to stroke my ego? Point your peepers over there. Tell me if you spot the seeds of a burgeoning oasis.
I squinted at the dune Zothpa was pointing to. A figure crested its peak, looking like a tree growing out of the sand. Another one sprouted, and then another, and soon an entire forest had emerged from the beige sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, who's got what it takes to be a millionaire? There's treasure everywhere you look, but only the quickest get stinking rich. Finders keepers, losers weepers. Are you ready? Get set, go!
On the spunky Harvin's signal, the crowd dispersed in all directions as if their lives depended on it.
We already picked the place clean of the good stuff, but they don't have to know that. Nothing mobilizes people better than get-rich-quick schemes. Besides, there's no rule against converting greed into faith, right?
So this was the man's grand design, a treasure-hunting venture. If word of riches reached gullible ears, a base of operations could easily grow into a true village.
Our cut is 30%. Don't worry. We already hammered out a deal with Seed Hollow. Pretty good side hustle, if you ask me.
Regardless of wealth's powerful allure, success was not guaranteed, nor would it come on such short notice. Still, it was a plan at least. We would have to wait until enough people settled on Dali before determining the next step.
Yo, boss, I did it! My sales numbers are through the roof! That means I got that bonus on lockdown, right? Right?
Since when have I ever gone back on my word? Don't go spending it all in one place. And be sure to thank the primeval god. You hear?
I love ya, Excavalion! I'll buy a round in your honor.
Sometimes to get results, one needs to be unconventional, especially if it speeds the process along. This gambit just may prove to be more successful than anticipated. Zothpa the information broker. He could give the Archangel of Cunning a run for his money. I did not think it possible to exceed Dali's heat until I arrived on Fondom. Given that the fire element influences Fright Flame Altar, I should have known better. My throat burned with every spoken word. Even here, the fire element is fraying. The dissonance was present on this island too, its true identity still elusive as ever.
When I was trapped in Vulcan Bola's crystal, I could almost make out its intentions. It wasn't always the primal beast of dread. It was originally supposed to bring hope to people.
Lyria had been shown an ancient memory, one in which Vulcan Bola originally presided over Dali and took shape based on the thoughts harbored by its residents. It acted as a vessel for people's emotions. Put differently, Vulcan Bola was a primal that materialized from the collective unconsciousness of its worshippers.
It was supposed to gather everyone's hope. But
She couldn't bring herself to finish her thought. But her frown and downcast eyes said all that needed to be said. When those former dwellers of Dali were confronted with the unknown, they had reacted not with hope, but with dread. Fear is a natural part of life. It allows a creature to avoid danger and survive to the next day. Mortals are generally rational beings, but it can be hard not to succumb to raw instinct. Whatever objective the Astrals aspired to achieve, it was incompatible with the wishes of Skydwellers. On account of the endless dread harbored within its body, Vulcan Bola gradually transformed into the earth-scorching being it is today.
the Astrals saw that things weren't going well. After Vulcan Bola damaged part of the island, they closed it off. Now it's called Fondom.
Without the guardianship of a primal beast, Dali's lands began to wither, while the volcanic domain of Fondom languished in neglect. As long as Vulcan Bola maintained its power of dread, this exiled land would never see change. No one could be expected to live a life of constant fear. We would be hard-pressed to find any person sane enough to dwell in what I can only describe as a blistering death trap.
So you got a plan for fixing up the fire element, right? Because I do not want to fall out of the sky.
Yes, if the current situation were left to fester, then the sky would be well on its way to collapse. Though who would put their faith in dread? We were at an impasse.
Oh, there you are. Goodness, you folks sure don't miss your cardio. I'm glad I found you.
Fix it, dude! What are you doing here?
As Roland jogged over to us, robes flapping, I realized he had two unfamiliar faces in tow.
Zothpa told me I'd find you here. I'm happy to announce that we're all set in Folka.
Roland told us the whole story, and we want to do our part to save these skies.
You've done so much for us, and we've repaid so little of your kindness. As representatives of Seed Hollow, we're here to offer our full assistance.
Roland had held a forum with the peoples of Folka and Seed Hollow. After much deliberation, they decided to establish an observatory on Fondom.
By exposing people to the real Vulcan Bola, I think its dreadful reputation, forgive the pun, will gradually change for the better.
In addition to monitoring the primal, the observatory would become the destination for regular pilgrimages. The prayers offered would, hopefully, rehabilitate Vulcan Bola's image over time.
We were humbled by your efforts to protect our homes, so we knew we had to step it up too.
Our resources are your resources. Whatever happens, rest assured our forces will defend the citizens with their lives.
It was evident that the resolve of these Sky Dwellers was strong, thanks in no small part to the Captain's inspiration. These mortals didn't need my meddling. The future of Zeka Grande was in good hands.
Unfortunately, I have another bit of news to share. In fact, I was hoping I could count on your help for just a bit longer.
Roland's smile vanished, and a steely gaze took its place.
A scouting team from Seed Hollow filed several reports about a strange phenomenon they experienced while investigating the Pillar of Vayoi. They claimed to have heard a voice, but not just any voice.
My body suddenly went numb with apprehension. It was as if I had returned to the research lab, reliving the moment when I heard Lucilius call me a spare.
It was Lilith's.
No one moved. No one dared to breathe. If I hadn't known better, I would have sworn time itself had stopped.
That's impossible. She can't be alive.
Not after what we...
The astral named Lilith should be long at the bottom of the skies. Or so I was told. How could she have survived? We fly, now. The Grand Cipher lifted off with a complement of stupefied passengers. As we pulled away from Fondom's blood-red skies, the clouds seemed to part into a sneering grin. We raced to the top of the tower as fast as our legs could carry us, though none of us heard even a whisper of Lilith's voice. It was entirely possible, perhaps even preferable, that the scouting team had merely imagined the voice. Our vigilant eyes spotted nothing out of the ordinary, at least not in the physical sense, but something was there. I could feel it. It finally dawned on me. The trickles of dissonance I had felt on each of the 4 islands we visited were congregating at this location.
Did you sense something, Sandalphon?
As a matter of fact, I noticed a faint disturbance on the other islands, as if something somewhere was siphoning off energy.
That doesn't sound good.
According to Roland and the captain, the phenomenon I described was strikingly similar to the way Lilith raised Vayoi. Vayoi was an amalgamation of debris and primal crystals absorbed from across Sega Grande. Why was history repeating itself?
Now that you mention it, I think I sense Angra Mainyu. Its projected body disappeared when Lilith fused with it, but maybe its real one is still out there.
You mean to suggest we defeated a mere spare of Angra Mainyu?
A mere spare. Even if it wasn't the Primal's true form, I could not believe Lilith would risk such a fusion. Taking in a primal core was no simple matter, and in the worst cases, it meant a permanent transfiguration, astral or not. However, Lilith had reverted to her original form after the battle, lending further credence to the fact that the crew had only fought a duplicate.
Let's assume that Angra Mainyu's real body survived without a scratch. It won't take action without commands. Someone must be pulling its strings, ordering it to absorb primal crystals. But there's only one person who would want that.
Right on cue, a spine-chilling voice cut through the very air itself.
Place the crystals upon Vayoi's altar. Open the gate beyond the stars.
That was Mother.
And yet, the Dark Prophetess was nowhere to be found. With her disembodied voice still ringing in our ears, we drew our weapons, ready to battle with an enemy we couldn't see.
Angra Mainyu, O door to worlds beyond, claim this offering.
Her voice is coming from another dimension. So she is alive!
A rematch with an astral thought dead was the farthest thing from anyone's mind.
Id, I know this must be painful for you, but we must cross into the alternate dimension and destroy Lilith and Angra Mainyu once and for all.
I know. Don't worry about me.
You make it sound like opening a dimensional gate is as easy as turning a doorknob.
My good dragon, don't you remember this little beauty?
Roland proudly held up a transceiver. He boasted that it was capable of tracing where the energy signature was at its strongest. And Angra Mainyu would be lurking at the convergence point of the streams of dissonance. As soon as Roland flipped a switch on the transceiver, the sword of Eos in the captain's hand began to emit a radiant glow.
After you, Captain. Roger that.
The captain followed the signal, and with a weighty swing of their sword, a crack appeared in the air above the ground. The cut, however, was still too shallow. Allow me. I focused the power of the Primarchs into the crack etched by the captain. With a shrill crash, the gate to another dimension shattered open.
Fell the interlopers. Guide them to oblivion.
Lilith's voice rang crystal clear from within the rift. She was waiting on the other side of the threshold.
Follow me!
Roland took charge and leapt into the gaping fissure. We were right behind him. Come hell or high water, we were putting an end to this astral's incessant machinations.
I hear Lilith, but she's nowhere to be found.
We can leave her be for now. Focus on the colossal primal in front of us. A fine display.
Here, here!
There's more where that came from. Did you see that? Right! No escape. Into the fray. Handle them. Great teamwork.
Let us prepare for the next foe.
Still keep going.
To the fray.
I'll support you.
Stand and face me. As expected.
What did you expect?
You're through. I have you. Of course.
You always have fun getting into something with you.
A Britain. Time is right. Wide open. Destroy them. I never expected to fight alongside an astral again.
It must feel strange, but I'm glad to have your trust.
Bob, seize them.
All that face me shall turn to ash.
Piece of advice: don't waste good threats on pathetic foes.
I have you.
Move it, Peon!
I'm with you. Behold these 6 wings. Brace yourself. Show us. Stop hiding. Now, she repeats herself over and over. This is absurd.
Don't take it too far, okay?
Let me repay you.
Income.
It's now or never.
The blessings upon you.
Well, Percival, shall we shake off this fight and move on? We shall.
A finale! Brittle. Not bad. Know your place. Like tissue. There's no way out.
See that? Support you. Stand and face me.
Now to destroy the rift. Enough.
Percival!
End is near.
Enough. Your fate is sealed. Sandalphon, let's end this. Now break them. Quiet.
He won't escape. And now there's his escape.
Shine as one.
The Astrophism!
No.
Could have gone a little easier.
Take you.
No one runs
This
from
crew
me
looks
again.
miraculous.
Then let's be extra careful.
I won't waste this boon.
Incoming! Get ready to dodge!
Hey, you okay?
Come on. Good choice.
Giant hand! On the double!
Ready to finish them!
I'm right. Be gone! I have you. You've made your match.
Who's with me?
Let's do this.
To the fray!
Eradicate them. Don't waste this boon. Welcome to your end. Seal their middle quarter. My flame will never die. It burns different than Miko's, as if it's fueled by lordly passion. Like take you!
Understood.
No mercy.
We kick their sorry mutes!
You.
Come on. Take this. Great work.
And that was just the start.
We'll only continue to get better.
Wipe them out. Back to basics. Power grows. Back to the void. There's no way out.
Don't let him
By his strength.
Right away.
Keep it going. Let's go. Seize them.
Now I see what this is all about. Left behind in Operation X. What does that mean? It means this poor beast is still bound to follow its master's orders.
Press on.
Sandalphon!
Destroy them. I'm so poor.
They won't escape.
Come on.
And now there's no escape.
Like thank you. Press the shine as one. Permanent flare.
Glamour over
Guess we could have gone a little easier.
No one runs from me and gets away.
Took a lot out of you.
The fire. The rivers run red. Let's finish this.
Let's roll.
Here for you.
Won't waste this boon.
You're a lifesaver.
Power grows. Get to the back line. Into the fray. Have it crumble.
Just a little bit more.
Right. It's time we end this. Good choice. Know your place.
Get them!
Destroy Sandalphon!
Who's ready to finish them?
I'm right. Won't waste this boon. Eradicate them! And done! Rest in peace.
Farewell, Lilith. It's finally over.
Go on. Bask in my power. Once we had pacified Angra Mainyu, Roland began the rites to seal it away.
You're free now, Angra Mainyu. You won't be used for evil anymore. You can finally sleep peacefully.
It wasn't quite a eulogy, but hopefully it was enough of a goodbye. As the rift drew to a close, Angra Mainyu pulsed with light, a final sigh of relief as it was released from its torment.
As I'm sure you've all surmised, Lilith was never here to begin with. We were listening to an echo that she left behind using magic.
Then she's really gone. That's some comfort, at least.
I'm sorry, Id.
Sleep well, Hunger Mainyu. May you never be exploited for nefarious acts ever again.
Well, I'm glad we put that matter to rest. Now that Vayoi has lost its power source, I dare say it'll crumble and fall to the bottom of the skies.
It would not be in the Sky Realm's best interest to allow this massive structure to crash into the Crimson Horizon. I envisioned what would happen if Pandemonium or Etemenanki crashed into the Crimson Horizon. All scenarios resulted in cataclysmic repercussions.
Not to worry. Just as Vayoi was assembled from assorted items across Sega Grande, so too should it dissolve into myriad vestiges before making a descent. Though I do feel sorry for the otherworlders residing in the Crimson Horizon. They won't be too thrilled when our trash rains down on them.
That would require an apology. Perhaps I should bring confections when the opportunity availed itself. That is, assuming the denizens of the otherworld were willing to sit down over a cup of coffee. As opposed to tearing me to shreds, of course. In the wake of our element-stabilizing endeavors, I flew high into Sega Grande's atmosphere to better evaluate the elemental health of the Skydom. Recovery was slow, but it was progressing in the right direction. If Skydwellers and primal beasts could return to living in harmony with one another, the elements should no doubt re-establish equilibrium. I visited the islands again to see how the people were faring. Blessed by the warm sun, smiles were abloom in the townships of the Einstedo archipelago. Meanwhile, the monks of Melos were still busy mopping up the flood that swept through the ravines of Lotania. A contingent of workers led by the family Zathba had unearthed a fair section of Dali's ruins. Several small encampments had already sprung up to capitalize on potential profits. Flights to Fondom from Folka and Seed Hollow had begun service. Construction on the observatory was coming along nicely as well. Come laughter, tears, or pain, Skydwellers persevere. They learn to grow and evolve. They possess unlimited potential to overcome any manner of hardship that stands in their way. I witnessed that firsthand from my travels with the captain and crew. As the Supreme Primarch, it was my duty to watch over the people from high above. But maybe I was destined for another purpose. Skydwellers are strong. A time will come when they no longer need the aid of archangels, or any other such being. And as we fade in importance, we will be forgotten. Did he continue to advance Skydweller evolution, knowing full well it may lead to the end of his purpose? The ability to forget is a double-edged sword. The fear of being forgotten by someone important to you is unimaginably terrifying. When the primals of Sega Grande no longer had a role to play, they began to disappear from everyone's lives. What if these primals had influenced the elements in a bid to affirm their own existence? A final, desperate cry to the world, announcing they were still here. Before me, the sky stretched out under a blinding sun, blue as far as the eye could see. The world's cruelty wrenched my heart. Lucifer once wondered what makes the sky blue. I guess I have a question of my own for the skies. Would mortals and primals ever stop fighting? Could we ever live in harmony? Oh, am I a bit early? The portrait we posed for on the docks of Folka was complete, so I had plans to meet the others at the church to collect it. However, its humble halls were empty. It would seem my fellow crewmates were comfortable with being fashionably late. Don't get the wrong idea. I have absolutely no interest in vanity. I was, however, curious which colors the artist had selected to paint the sky. Once I'd confirmed this detail, I would be on my way. But it was quiet in the church, somber, you could say. Coffee would go well with this atmosphere. What I wouldn't give for just one cup, though I wasn't sure we could afford the detour for such a simple luxury. They're late. I'd grown used to waiting on mortals. There was nothing to do except figure out the best way to pass the time. I could reanalyze our previous battle with Angra Mainyu, or I could also...
Sleepyhead,
Was someone calling me?
rise and shine, Sleepyhead.
I was still groggy coming out of my accidental nap, but my ears were in working order. A cacophony of voices made sure of that.
Heard you're a coffee fiend, so I brought you my famous Zothba blend. Stuff will knock your socks off.
You failed to mention it was brewed with natural water melted from the purest snow of Lotania. I dare you to find a fresher source.
Sandalphon, my boy, how do you feel about sponge cake?
Try some of Seed Hollow's finest flower wine. Go on, take a swig straight from the bottle.
All right. Let the poor guy get his bearings, everyone. He did just wake up.
Somebody's popular.
What had I done to deserve this? Think, Sandalphon. First you came to the church to receive a painting, and then...
You had no idea so many people wanted to come thank you, right? No wonder you're surprised.
I did not think I had done anything to warrant such an outpouring of gratitude. The children of man fuss over everything.
Look at it this way. If it weren't for you, we never would have noticed all the weirdness in the skies. You rock, dude!
As I fumbled for an excuse to escape the throng of well-wishers, Sierra Carte entered the church.
My goodness. We have ourselves quite the turnout here.
Turnout? When was this? A party?
And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Voila!
The merchant presented me with a board wrapped in cloth. I gingerly removed it, only to be met with the shock of a lifetime. Lucifer? No. I felt as if my eyes were betraying me.
Huh. That wasn't exactly the reaction I was expecting.
Lyria and Vern peered over my shoulder.
Wow, you look so handsome, Sandalphon.
My identity as the Supreme Primarch had never been revealed to the artist, yet her intuitive eye still captured my hidden essence.
If you want, I could arrange for a replacement. No questions asked. Customer satisfaction is my #1 priority.
No, that won't be necessary. I'll take it. The pure arrogance of mistaking myself for Lucifer. I must have been drowsier than I let on. Yet somehow, it felt right. Regardless, I still had one outstanding issue with the portrait. Where would I hang it up?